Good morning, people. I'll just wait for this thing to catch up. So, the courier mail's been a bit busy today. Services Australia claim that they've got this wild claim about reduction in alcohol and gambling spending. Okay? That really doesn't fit with the actual local information. But anyway, so I'll read you the article. It's now up on the page here. I went to the shop. No, I didn't buy the damn paper because I won't put a penny in Murdoch's pocket. But so the cashless welfare card has blocked almost $500,000 being spent on alcohol, gambling and other contraband in Bundaberg and Hervey Bay in its first 2-year trial. It can be revealed that another 2,400 people are about to go on the scheme. So the pause is now being lifted, and for those of you that lost your jobs due to COVID and haven't been able to get a job back, or have only been able to get casual hours back, right, your cards will be arriving in the post in the next couple of weeks, all right, starting in April. Nice of them to tell you, eh? Now, it's up to you whether you want to fight and not activate that card because they're sending this to you without your consent. Okay, which is breaking consumer law. Please be aware. So it follows the government pausing adding new welfare recipients onto the card in March last year as the social services system struggled with the pandemic. Under the cashless debit card trial, under 35s, see, it's actually under 36s. If you're 35, you'll stay on the card until you turn 36. They still keep going on that anyway. Job seeker youth allowance have 80% of their quarantine pay. Hang on a minute, but there's parenting payment, single and partnered on this as well in the Hinkler region. Funny how they've just excluded the parents, the casual workers that receive $1 of social security payments, whether it be job seeker youth allowance or parenting payments. So they're forgetting a whole range of people, aren't they? Just pointing it at our youth as though our youth are the problem. All right? And this is not the usual drivel of, the card can be used as stores for products and services other than alcohol, gambling and withdrawing cash, with about $200 each, 28 days available to be withdrawn. Well, you don't actually get to withdraw it. You have to get it transferred from Indu to your account. All right? The Courier Mail has obtained data showing the card had blocked 413,000 that users had tried to spend on prohibited sales from January 2019 in the trial began to January 2021 in the control site, which includes Bundaberg and Hervey Bay. This includes 12,000 in betting or casino gaming. We don't have a casino, so I don't know where they're getting casino gaming from. Okay. Let me see here. $134,000 in bars, taverns and nightclubs. We don't have that many nightclubs. And they banned all the cheap pubs that did all the cheap meals. So people knew they couldn't go there. Right. 62,000 at bottle shops, as well as 205,000 from cash vendors and wire transfers. That's interesting. All right. So, but it does not count for buying alcohol else. And it's proven, and that was also in the Senate inquiries and Senate estimates, by which way Senate estimates coming up tomorrow, right, Thursday the 25th, regarding the cashless debit card. So this will be interesting for their figures. This is obviously why this is being pumped out. But we've got people all over the country that can just go and buy alcohol with the card because it doesn't block them. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it doesn't stop people from drinking. It doesn't stop people from getting drugs. What it does stop people from doing is being able to maintain an A credit rating, because everybody who's been forced onto that card has lost their credit rating. Many people have been breached. Many families have been made homeless and had to travel interstate to find housing because real estates won't rent to them because the mortgages have to be paid by the owners, and the owners are not going to put up with, late rent payments. It's just disgusting how they're pushing this all the time. As I noticed they missed out the parenting and payments, your family tax A and B, your end of year tax reconciliation payments, your supplements, right, all go on the card. How convenient is that? Do you know what I mean? They're not mentioning either that those that had a weekly exemption, like an exemption due to being on weekly payments, right, have now had that exemption removed. And they're stuffing around with nominees, which they cancelled in Hinkler anyway when the card first came out. So the government has no issue with people having a beer or putting a punt on from time to time, which is why welfare recipients get to keep their 20% of their payment of their regular bank account. Oh, how special. How disgusting from Anne Ruston. She's convinced that if you put $1 more of Social Security payment into somebody's pocket, it'll all go to the drug addicts and drug dealers. And what I don't realise is, they assume that the only thing we all do is drink and gamble. And we'll give you 20% so you can still have a beer and go for a punt. No, the 20% is having to be used to catch up on childcare fees, catch up on rents, having to catch up on all the things that people cannot do with this card. Buy second-hand school uniforms, buy second-hand furniture, try and replace a second-hand car, try and pay water rates, right? People are having to use that 20%, right, and they're falling behind disastrously on all sorts of things because of this. They've been made homeless because of this. People have died from the stripping of their agency, the loss of autonomy, and they're not tackling any of the human problems here. Do you know what I mean? Meanwhile, from the start of April, the freeze on new recipients will be lifted, with another 2,456 people to be added in the Bundaberg and Hervey Bay regions. Services Australia will start sending the impacted people letters from April. Then they will be given a month before the transition. So basically, May. You know what I mean? By May, they will try and force another 2,456 people in the Hinkler region onto the card. All right, and bear in mind, in the 2019 to 2020 period, pokey use went up by $1 million a week, right? It showed that it was not ever the people on Social Security that were the problem with pokies. Tourism area, the grey nomads, the old age pensioners all queue up to go to the pokies, right? It did shut down the bingo centre in Hervey Bay straight away because, most of the adult parents that were on the card that were under 36 that may have gone with mum, their older parents, to bingo once a week as a treat. Well, they couldn't go. Sporty's bingo shut down instantly. So, I don't know where they're getting these figures from or where they're getting this data from, but it doesn't correspond with what's been going on in the region. It doesn't mention any of the issues, the human impact to people in the region. It just doesn't mention any of it. It just says shows system works. No, it doesn't. It doesn't work. It can't work. People will always have workarounds. People will always find ways. And for the minority, the small percentage of people with addictions, right, they'll get what they need by whatever means they need to. Simple as that. The majority who just want to be left alone have to put up with the stigma, the declines, the late fees when their bills aren't paid properly, the defaults, the repossessions, the being made homeless, right, and everything else as their lives are completely destroyed and controlled by Indu, right? Or they have to pay fees on every transaction through their Visa, BPay, whatever they're using to pay their bills. There's added costs. And then their normal banks are now starting to charge them the monthly deposit fee because their income is too low. The 20% is too low in the bank to cover them for the $5 a month fee or whatever your bank is charging. So a lot of banks are charging the fees again. Amanda Tesla sharing says, how do they link the drop in spending to the card when we've just had a pandemic? Precisely. And people had more income to spend, and yet, so there was more freedom for them to be able to buy stuff that was contraband. I mean, for God's sakes, what we're talking about there is for over 18 adults. It's not contraband. It's not illegal. So how can they say it works in Hinkler when the evaluation report hasn't been published for Hinkler? Precisely. But they're not taking into the human impact. This is it. They're ignoring the human impact, and they're still sticking with this bullshit that everybody on welfare, right, drinks and gambles. And that's all we do. We don't pay any rent. We don't pay any bills. All we do is drink and gamble, apparently, because that's what I'm getting out of this. It's all about drinking and gambling, when the majority of people don't. I did hear of a couple of cases where people started to drink, right, and drank more than they normally would have ever because of the stress, and they actually went and got some help when they realised, oh my God, do you know, this is pushing me to drink, right? But that's rare. But most people have ended up at the doctors on antidepressants, anti-panic medication. Poor Jody had a heart attack, right? You know, there is so many things that decline for no reason that shouldn't be declining. You know what I mean? And yeah, I've heard of some people trying to go out to dinner with their family and their cards decline. That's because all of the affordable places in the region that families would normally go to for a birthday dinner and things like that are on the banned list. Only the more expensive clubs that, you know, the $10 cheap meal is banned, but the $30 meal in another pub is okay. Yeah, and separate lines, which is humiliating for people. Segregation in public. Oh, look, all those people lined up there must be on the card. They shouldn't be allowed in here from the judgmentals. Why? You know, they're entitled to have some form of life apart from paying rent, electricity, telephone. It's disgusting. So the article's up. Yeah, it's absolutely, Kathy says it screams apartheid. So Olivia Rose went onto the Courier Mail Facebook page and pointed out that on the card you have to apply for money to pay rent and bills and have money for food, and she's been blocked from commenting. So, well, I know there's a lot of comments on that page, but I've got media chasing me. They want to speak about this, and there was no way I was going to speak about this without seeing the article. So off to the shop I went, right, because I couldn't read it. It's behind a paywall. So there were some nasty comments here. And I wanted to draw attention to somebody because there's one particular person, right, called Andrew Jones, who works for LJ Hooker, and he made a flippant comment, right, that, yep, lock it in. Those who don't like it will have to get a job, then they can spend their money anywhere they like. So is he saying that, you know, LJ Hooker, are they one of the real estates that are going to stop people from being able to access rents? Because we already have real estates up here doing that, right? LJ Hooker, he's a sales rep for LJ Hooker, and yet he's supporting the card. Or is there some deal with the government where LJ Hooker, people with LJ Hooker aren't going to suffer the rent declines that other people have, and the breaches and the evictions? I asked him, you know, he accused one of my friends of being a fake account just because she has her privacy up high. He doesn't seem to care about, it's not just for unemployed people, right? And I reminded him that he was being disrespectful to my older friend and that she's entitled to her privacy. A lot of people have told him off because, you know, DSP and carers on the card have no choice, and carers do work, of course. And then I reminded him that those working 30 hours a week that receive $1 of Social Security payment are on the card, right? What of them? I said, you forget this traps working people, especially those who cannot get more hours, casuals and part-timers, parents, and now the old age in Cape York, right? With 1.4 million unemployed and only 186,000 jobs listed, mostly gig economy and casuals. How many workers are on the card now? We don't know. But how many more will be if this keeps going? You know? Oh, there's always late fees and breaches. People who, if the rent's paid late, if it's late, there's breach notices. So you have 3 breach notices, then you're issued with a Form 12. Out. Bye. You know what I mean? That's what happens to people. Meanwhile, the owners are screaming at the land agent because the money hasn't arrived in their bank on the correct date, right? Because it's late. And they'll only put up with it for so long because the owners get hit default fees from their bank for late payment of mortgages. Yeah. So, anyway, there's where we're at the moment. Now, if you go to the Courier Mail Facebook page, you can take their poll and you can leave your comments. And if you're on the card, tell them. But you know, I'm going to refresh this and see how many comments have been removed, because the majority of people that were commenting this morning made it very clear the answer is no. But their poll didn't add up. Do you know what I mean? It's really weird. Their poll just doesn't add up in regards to supports for yeses and nos. It doesn't add up. There's a lot of comments here. Yeah, so the real estates won't cover the fees or the losses or the damages, the same as Indu won't cover take any responsibility for the damages caused by people being made homeless. All right, Olivia, they just won't do it, right? There's a set routine. If your rent's not paid on its due date, you are in breach of your contract, right? And every time that Indu has not paid somebody's rent or reset the rent without telling the person, that incurs a 4-day delay most of the time. Instantly, people can be breached for that under tenancy law. 3 breaches, and then you're issued with an eviction notice. Okay? Some real estate agents are a little bit more sympathetic because they understand it's out of the person's control. I spoke to somebody from real estate here who out of 3 people they had on the card, 1 was having continuous problems with the rent resets. All right. And it's just crap. It really is. But, yeah. Okay, I'll leave you guys to go and comment and to go and do the poll. You know, I think the only people that are really supporting this card now are the vested interests. So when somebody comes up, and I've screenshotted his comment, by the way, and my reply to him, because he's representing LJ Hooker when he comes up and does that sort of thing on a page. You know what I mean? He's got his profile all open and everything. It looks like pretty much the comments I would have expected to have been removed this morning from this have not been removed. 99% of the comments are against the card, right? For good reason, because, you know, yeah. So, well, I don't think how he can come out and make a statement like that. He thinks it's okay. I know that up here in Hingler, there was others that also thought it was fantastic too, until it started impacting their businesses. So hard courts apparently won't take people on the card at all, period. And there's another one that won't, a smaller one in Bundaberg that won't. So there's at least two real estates that won't deal with people on the card. I don't know what happened with Carter and Cooper and their 200 people and angry owners at the beginning of the trial when it started in Hinkler, 200 people who couldn't pay their rents. I know there's a lot of people that have left the area due to being made homeless. Indu wouldn't allow them to pay their rents because they were cash rental or other things. And, you can only do workarounds. You can only buy someone's groceries. You can only pay for their fuel so many times on the card. You know what I mean? The Courier Mail is Murdoch, Julie. Yes, absolutely. So I did not go and buy it, all right? I will not do that. But, yeah, so, yeah. Interesting, okay. I'm just watching, somebody sent me a message and somebody put up my live somewhere in the voting thing. They're not dealing with the human issues, the privatisation of the Social Security, the handing over of government funds, public funds, to private companies to take control, who are not accountable to you, me, or the Senate. They don't appear in the Senate to explain why, what, and how. It's just, yeah. Who knows? Anyway, I'm out of here. Go to it, guys. And yeah, we warned people that the pause wouldn't last forever, and now there's another 2,456 people that will find letters and cards in their letterboxes in April, ready to start in May. How you choose to handle that situation, whether you go and get a lawyer, go and get some legal assistance regarding being forced onto the card without your consent. This is not the first trial, all right? Which the cover letter only covered the first trial. But I implore everybody, do your opt-outs, get some legal assistance, all right? Go through community legal services all over the country. Everybody who is on this card needs to go and engage some legal people now. And the people coming onto it, before you activate it, go and see a lawyer. Go and see a lawyer. Or go and see a community legal centre. Not legal aid, but a community legal centre before you activate that card. Because the minute you do, you consent to losing your consumer protections, your statutory rights under law, your privacy, your autonomy. And that's a big price to lose indefinitely, right? And, in Hinkler, it's up until you're 36 years of age. But they can change that goalpost as well. As recommended in previous submissions that I've seen by certain vested interests, they want Hinkler to end up the same as every other region, which will be all payments up to 67 years of age. They've already put it as other age brackets can volunteer already. So, so much for Scott Morrison telling us how much he's in touch with women. How many of the 2,400 people who are about to receive the cards will be women? Absolutely. Yeah, the impact on women. Oh, I did a live about this yesterday. It's abuse. It's financial abuse. Either which way. The few guys that I've spoken to that are on the card, they suffer with depression really bad. It gets them really down. It is financial and emotional torture, and that's all you can say about it, because people are not allowed. These people are over 18, over 21, over 30. They're not children, and this is crap, and it needs to be abolished. This is apartheid in the building, and it has to be stopped. So, an Alan Tudge today pulling the women employed card, read the latest stats. Okay, doesn't matter if you're employed. If you're getting family tax payments, you're on the card. Doesn't matter. This is the thing. Anyway, I'll say see ya.